Hello students and welcome in today's session. Today we are going to learn about the population growth and different growth models, right? Now in this, see population growth, the size of the population it always go on changing with the time. Now why it will be changed? Because there are the different factors which affects on the population growth. Now see the factors. First is that food available for the organism. Then second, the weather condition which is available over there. Then the third one, the predator's pressure. Now what is mean by predator's pressure? The enemy of that organism is there, and if it is in large quantity, then definitely there will be a huge predator pressure and the population will go on decreasing. And suppose they don't have enemy over there, then no predator's pressure will be there. They will be increased in a high speed or in large quantity, right? So that's why predator's pressure is one more factor which affects on the population growth. Next point is the competition. Now in the competition, when the same species is organisms are there, then they will be compete for the same resources like light, food, water, space, right? So whenever their requirements are the same, then the species will fight with each other to get that resources maximally if the resources are in small quantity, right? So that is what it is called as a competition. If the small amount of resources, more number of species are there, competition will increase, and in this competition, who is the stronger one that will get survived, who will the weaker one get die and eliminated from the competition. So automatically due to elimination of the weaker ones, the population will go on decreasing. So in this way, these are the four factors which affects on the population growth. Now see, the density of a population is given habitat during a given period changes due to these four basic factors, as well as along with this natality, mortality, immigration and immigration, right? Now in these four factors, natality means birth rate, mortality means death rate, immigration is there means coming someone from outside in that population, and immigration means leaving that habitat and going, right? So it will be in minus, mortality will also be in minus. So both are these factors which will decrease the population, and birth rate will add on the number, so it will increase the population, and immigration is there, that will also increase the population, right? So based on this, natality and immigration contributes to increase the size of the population as well as density of population will increase, and the same way mortality and immigration contributes to decrease the population or population density. And because of this, equation is given NT is equal to N0 plus B plus I minus D plus E. NT is nothing but the population density at time, N0 is the population in the beginning, B for the birth rate, I for immigration, D for death rate and E for immigration, right? See in your textbook, these are the four factors majoritarily affects on the population density, right? And based on this, picture is given, very important, right? Those who are increasing the population density, it is shown with a plus, right? Natality adding in the population, immigration adding in the population, mortality decreasing the population density, that's why it is in minus and showing outward arrow, right? Immigration is there, that is also going out from the habitat, so it is shown in the minus. So these pictures explain you very nicely how these factors affects on the population density, right? And the equation is also given. Now, under the normal conditions where the birth rate and death rates are most important factors influencing this population density. But suppose if you are considering taking an example for a just newly formed habitat or a colony, right? So as the newly formed colony is there or apartment is there, then the new families will come over there to live in that area. So in that condition, instead of birth rate, right, or the death rate, most affecting effective factor is nothing but immigration, right? Those who are coming, and because of that population density in that area will go on increasing. Now let's see about the growth models, right? So here the growth models, if you will see, there are two models of the population growth. One is the exponential growth model and another one is the logistic growth model, right? Now see, in the exponential growth model, when the resources availability is unlimited, right, means no limit is there, in huge amount all resources are present in that area, right, in that habitat, then the population growth is a exponential or geometric fashion. Geometric fashion means goes on doubling, 1 2 then 4 then 8 then 16 then 32, like that it will goes on doubling. So that will be called as a geometric fashion growth, and or growth which will be occur, it is at the highest level, right, highest rate, so it is a exponential growth. So when we see the exponential or a geometric fashion growth, whenever the resources which are available in that habitat are unlimited, there is no any limit, right? So for that, see the curve, this picture if you will see, it is given in your textbook also, it will form a J shaped, right, goes on increasing, increasing, increasing. Equation for this is given, dn by dt is equal to b minus d at rate n, right? See in your textbook, exponential growth. This is what the J shaped curve is there, right? This dotted line indicates the K. K is nothing but the carrying capacity, and this is for the first growth, showing the exponential growth when the resources are unlimited. And for this growth curve, equation is given, dn by dt is equal to Rn, right? For exponential growth, equation is given here, nt is equal to n0 e raised to rt. Nt is population density after time t, n0 population density at time 0, r is nothing but the intrinsic rate of natural increase, and e is nothing but the base of natural logarithm. This is the constant value, that is 2.71, right? Now whenever any species growing exponentially under unlimited resource condition, then they reach enormous population. Their population density will be highest in a short period of time, means in this short period of time only, this much time period only, huge number of population density we can see here. The same it is given, right? So one story is given here, right? So how it increase in a short period of time enormously whenever the population growth is exponential or geometric growth is there. So in this story it is said that there is a king and his minister, both were playing a chess game, right? Now the king was confident that he will win, right? And the minister's position was at like that, okay, that he is going to lose only, right? So due to the king's confidence, he asked that, as I am going to win, but suppose you win, then what you want, that I will give. Then minister, he was knowing that he is not going to win, then also he said that, okay, if I win, then I need some wheat grains. What he asked? Some wheat grains, right? Now he said that some wheat grains means, he said these 64 squares are there on the chessboard, right? So you just go on keeping the wheat grains in each square. So you keep the one wheat grain in the first square, right? Then in the second square you keep the 2 grains. Then you keep the 4 grains in a third square. So for every square, what is the number of grains are there in earlier square, that double will be kept in the next square. So right. So for each square, the number of wheat grain is increasing exponentially, right? So geometric growth is there, right? So king thought that, oh, it's okay, very simple. Minister has asked, only few wheat grains I have to give, and as I am a king, if I lose, then also I will pay him the wheat grains very easily, no need to worry. Then also king was very confident that he will win. But at last, due to minister's faith, minister won and king lost the game, right? So that time, then king thought that, okay, only grains we have to give, then I will give that. So he said that, no worry, I will keep the grains. Now king started to keep the grains, right? So in first 1, then second 2, third 4, fourth 8, then fifth 16, right? Then seventh 32, like that he goes on increasing. Then soon the king has realized that till he reached to the 64th square, right, he would have collect the whole wheat grains from his kingdom, then also it will be not sufficient to fulfill the last square of this chessboard, right? Because this is the exponential growth with a very high speed, right? Geometric growth, right? So by this story must be you have understand that the geometric growth, how it occurs. So in a very short period of time, huge amount of growth will be occur in the population. So you can just read out this story, you will understand it betterly. Now the next one is the logistic growth. Now in the logistic growth, what happened? Here in the logistic growth, population density will be increased, but here that habitat will not have unlimited resources. It will have the only limited resources, right? So here the resources are very limited. So in whichever habitat the resources are in a limited amount, then as the resources are limited, the species will compete with each other for the same resource, and because of the competition there will be no any exponential growth. Growth will be there, but due to competition the checkpoint will be there on the growth, so it will not be increased in after a particular level, right? So in the logistic growth, resources will be limited, and that's why competition will be there, and exponential growth will not be allowed in this condition. Now here, due to competition, who are the fittest one, they will only get a survive and reproduce, and who are the weaker one, they will get a die and eliminated from the competition, right? So in this, if you will see the growth graph, then in earlier diagram, see here blue color line is there, that is indicating your logistic growth curve, right? See here it is given B when the resources are limited, and growth will be logistic, right? So here this S shaped curve will be obtained. Means what? Here the population growth is very slow up to this time, right? Then the population growth will start to increase. So it will be the highest rate of the increase of the population, right? Now whenever it will reach to its the highest level, then as the resources are limited, then they will not furthermore increase, right? So they will compete with each other. Fittest will be survived, unfit will be removed, right? And here as the limited resources are there, the population growth will not exceed beyond this limit. It will be remain stable for this level, right? So this dotted line is there, that is nothing but the carrying capacity. Now what is mean by the carrying capacity? Every habitat has its own carrying capacity, means that habitat will have the limited resources, and that habitat will initially have the lag phase, then it will be accelerated phase, means highest number of population growth we can see in this phase, and the deceleration, and finally asymptote when the population density reaches the carrying capacity, means the limit of that habitat is over there, right? It will cannot tolerate the more population in that area, right? So in this case, whatever the logistic graph we got, so that is called as a logistic growth or virtualist pure logistic growth, right? So if you will check the equation for this growth, then it will be dn by dt is equal to Rn in bracket k minus n upon k for carrying capacity. Here the notations are given. N is population density at a time, R is intrinsic rate of the natural increase, and k is the carrying capacity, right? So here if you will see any population, if you consider, then in that no any graph is there, it will be logistic. If you consider any population, then in that no any graph will be there, it will be showing always the exponential growth curve, right? So maybe initially due to less population density, the growth curve is exponential, but sooner or the later, whenever the population will be reached at its highest density and the resources will be limited, that time that exponential growth is there, it will become a logistic growth curve, right? Because of limiting resources. That's why logistic growth curve is there. That is only is called as the realistic growth curve. It is only the real. So no any habitat will be there where we can see always the exponential growth. That exponential growth also afterwards is going to become an logistic growth. See in the slide, the exponential growth is given with this equation, and the logistic growth is there. For that this equation is there. Both the equations you have to keep in mind. Next one is there, life history variations, right? Now evolution of the population aims at improving the reproductive fitness to the maximum in their habitat. This is what the every organism has trying to do. That means they have to reproduce maximally in their habitat. Whenever organisms reproduce maximally, means they are trying to participate in the increase in population density, right? Most birds and mammals breed many times during their lifetime. So that's why as their breeding time is more and more, means many more times, they will add the individuals in the population and try to increase the population density. According to the ecologists, life history traits of an organism have evolved in relation to the constraints imposed by. For that, biotic and abiotic, both factors are important. They influence on this organism or the species, and because of these factors present in that habitat, population growth will be seen. Even in that, variations will also be occurs, right? Now the next point is population interaction, right? Now in this population interaction, you can see the living organisms interact in various ways to form a biological communities, right? So whenever there is a biological community, that time we can see the organism, two different species or the same species interact with each other. Now see interspecific interaction. Interspecific means what? There is an interaction of a population of two different species. Two different species will interact with each other. So that is interspecific interaction. And intraspecific interaction means there is an interaction among the individuals of the same species, right? Based on this, these are various types of interactions we observe in the habitat. First is predation, second competition, parasitism, commensalism, amensalism and mutualism. Now here species A and B, whenever they are the competition is there in between the two different species, then sometimes one species may get benefited and the other species may get harmed, right? So wherever the species get harmed, that will be shown by the minus. Wherever the species get benefit, there it is shown with the plus. Suppose any species is there which does not got any harm or a benefit, then that may be neutral, right? So it is shown with the 0. So by this we can understand the different interactions. Just I will say you in short that predation means one of the species tries to eat the another species, right? So in that one is a predator who is eating another species, and second one is a prey who is get eaten by the predator, right? So here predator is there, that will be in a benefit, right? Because he got the food or energy from the other species. So that will be in the plus, and the prey which is get eaten, it has lost its life, right? So that's why it is in a minus. So in a predation, one species will be in plus, another species will be in minus. In the competition, two species get interacted with each other, they will compete with each other for the same resources, right? So in this case, in a competition, no one is get benefited, both will be in minus, both get harmed. Because just take an example, when two students are fighting with each other, no one will be happy in them, no one will get any kind of benefit, both will get physically hurted, right? So because of this competition is there, in this interaction both the species will be in minus. Third is there parasitism. Now in case of parasitism, all of you know the parasite, right? The word is parasite. Parasite means the one species is there which will be live on the other living organism's body. They do not prepare their food, or they do not try to take their food, capture their food, right? They are just taking ready-made food from the host organism. So in these two species are there, one is the parasite and other one is the host. So the parasite, as it has to just simply and take the ready-made food, so it will be have definitely a benefit. So the parasite will be in plus, but the host is there on which parasite is living, right? So he is losing his food, right? So that will be cause harm to that host, or that host will be in a minus. So here in the parasitism, parasite will be in a plus and the host will be in minus. Next interaction is that commensalism. Now in the commensalism, one species is there that will be in a plus, right, benefited, but because of that any other species, this species is get benefit, that another species don't have any effect, it don't have the plus also or minus also, not benefited because of this species, or even not get harm because of this species. So in this second species is there, that will be a neutral. So that we will see in commensalism. In that, take an example, suppose few cattle are just roaming in the field, right? So must be you also have observed that some of the egrets are there, they are just walking nearby these cattle, or they are just sitting on their back head, right? Or they are just walking ahead of these birds. Now why these cattle and birds are together over there in that field? Because here the cattle are just taking their food from that field, eating a grass, right? So whenever these cattle are walking, that time some small insects are there, those who are sitting on that grass, they will just get fly, right? So when these insects get fly, automatically these birds get their food, just catch these insects and eat. So these birds get benefited due to cattle, right? But in presence of these birds, cattle are either not benefited or not any harm. So in this way, the cattle will be in a neutral condition and birds will be in a plus, right? So that is called as a commensalism. Positive is there, then commensalism. Amensalism exactly opposite to the commensalism. In this, one species will get harmed due to presence of the other species, but the species, because of this species is get harmed, that species remains neutral, right? No any effect is there because of this species. Now take an example here. Suppose there is a pond, and in that pond, suppose green color algae is growing on the surface of the water, right? Now in this, algae is growing due to polluted water, but due to the growth of the algae on the surface of the water, right, sunlight may not reach to the water, oxygen content in that water will get decreased, and because of that some of the aquatic animals get die. Means these aquatic animals will in negative or get harmed due to the growth of the algae on the water surface, but algae will be in a neutral state in presence of fish. No harm is there or no any kind of benefit is there. So algae will be in a neutral while the aquatic organisms will be in minus. So this type of interaction is there, that is called as a amensalism. Mutualism is there. In this mutualism, both organisms will be in a plus. This mutualism is also called as a symbiotic relationship. Maybe from the lower classes you are learning about the symbiotic association between the algae and fungi in lichen, right? So here algae prepares food and even it gives to the fungi, right? So the fungi get food from the algae, and in return to that, fungi helps to absorb the water, minerals from the soil. So absorption capacity of the algae will be increased because of the fungi, right? So in this way, algae get benefits from the fungi for the absorption of water and minerals, and fungi get benefit from the algae, that it gets food from the algae. So both are get benefited from each other. So both will be in plus. So this is nothing but the mutualism. See once again, predation, one will be in plus, second will be in minus. Competition, both will be in a minus. Opposite to the competition, mutualism is there, both are there in a plus, right? And commensalism and amensalism, both are in opposite to each other. In commensalism, one in plus but other is neutral. In amensalism, one is in a minus but other is in a neutral. Remaining one is the parasitism. So parasite is in a one species will be in plus, another will be in a minus. So predation and parasitism, you have to remember, one will be plus and one will be in minus. Competition and mutualism in the pair you remember, and commensalism and amensalism, this both in pair you remember, right? And competition you just remember with a fight between the students, so both will be in minus. So in this way, these different types of interactions you can remember. Now these interactions are there. one by one we will see in a detail, right? So in that, first today we will see about the predation, right? Now what is mean by predation? It is an interspecific interaction in which predator, that is the strong animal, kills and consume the prey, which is the weak animal, right? So therefore one species, that is nothing but the predator, is benefited, and the other species, that is nothing but a prey, is harmed. So one in plus and other will be in minus. So predation is a way to transfer the energy from lower traffic level to the higher traffic level. This transfer of energy in the traffic levels we will see in a next chapter, but you must have learned this in lower classes. The energy is always transferred from one level to the next. From the plants we are getting the from the plants we are getting the energy, and the herbivorous animals are there, those who are getting energy from the plants. If they are get eaten by the carnivorous animals, then these carnivorous animals will get the energy from the herbivorous animals. In this way energy is transferred. So this is what the transfer of energy from lower trophic level to the higher trophic level. Predators will eat them and automatically prey population will be decreased. So the prey population will never be exceed before one particular capacity, right? Same like that, the predator is there, that may be the prey of any other species, so their number will also be remain in control. This is what the nature's rule. Every species number will be remain under a control by the one other species, and if any species exceeds than its normal level, then the ecosystem will be remains imbalanced, right? So if we want to maintain our ecosystem, our environment balanced, then this prey and predator should be there to keep the check on each other, right? So they will keep the prey population under control, otherwise prey reach very high population density and cause imbalance in the ecosystem. These are some of the pictures where this is the predator and this is the prey, right? So these pictures are showing over here. Some predators are used biological control for the pest. For example, it is given the ladybirds are useful to control aphids, and the dragonflies are used for the mosquitoes. Means aphids population is there, it will be controlled by the ladybird. Suppose if on the cactus aphids are more in number, these small insects are there, these are nothing but the aphids, right? So if their number is increased, you just keep some of the ladybirds over there, automatically their population will be under control, right? The same it is there, if you have to keep the mosquitoes number under control, then the dragonflies are there, they will be keep their population under control, because they are the predator and here the mosquito is a prey. Sometimes these preys are there, they also need to survive, right? So they have evolved some of the mechanism to defend the predator, right, or to save their life. So see, prey species have evolved various defense mechanism to reduce the impact of the predation. So they will get escaped from the predation, right? Example is given here. Certain insect species are there and some frogs are there. They have camouflage, that is cryptic coloration, means they have ability to change their color, right? Now they are changing their color according to the environment, right? So around them, whatever the color conditions are available, based on that they will make their body color and they will get merged into that color. So if the predator is there, that predator is not able to distinguish the background color and the prey color, right? So the predator is not able to see the prey as it is in front of the predator, and in this way prey will be get escaped, saved from the predator. This picture is there, here you can see it is a frog. So this is the outline of the frog. If you are able to see, it is on a rock, right? So whatever the rock's color is there, Like that only the frog has developed a color of its body. So this is what change in the body color, cryptic coloration, and this is called as a camouflage, right? Clear? So this is how the prey species get escaped from the predation. Right. Another example is given of monarch butterfly. Right. Now this monarch butterfly is there. They are preparing a kind of a chemical in their caterpillar stage, and because of that chemical their body's taste will be very bad. If any bird eat these butterflies, then it is a very distasteful, taste is very bad, so that bird is not going to eat this butterfly once again, right? So this is one more defensive mechanism which we see in the monarch butterflies. See, it is very distasteful to its prey bird, right? So why this distasteful it is there? This is because of a special chemical present in their body, and this chemical is produced during the caterpillar stage. So when they are in the caterpillar stage, that time they are producing this chemical, and from that, after that caterpillar stage, when they are becoming a butterfly, that time they will have this chemical. So if anyone eats them, the taste is not good, so next time that bird is not going to eat this butterfly. In this way they saved themselves from their predators, right? Now see the next example. There are some of the herbivores, right, which eat the plants. Now plants also has to save themselves, right, from the herbivorous animals. So as like other animals, birds, they cannot fly, run away, right, or they can't change their color. So they also have developed some kind of defensive mechanism. Now what is this? See, the problem of predation is more severe for the plants than the animals because they cannot move from their place. About 25% of the known insects are the phytophagous, means phyto means plant, phagous means eating. So 25% of the insects are there, they are eating the plants, right, leaves of the plants, right. They feed on the plant sap or the leaves. So here these are some of the pictures, the insects which are surviving on the plant. But in this case, see some of the defensive mechanism they also have developed. Here plants have developed a certain morphological and chemical defense mechanism. Morphological means their external structure is there, in that defensive structure is developed, or chemical means their physiological change is there, in that the defensive mechanism is formed. So this defensive mechanism will work against the herbivores. How? See the example. This is the image of the acacia, right? Bubble tree. So these are the big thorns are there of the bubble tree. This is also called as an acacia, right? Scientific name of this acacia. So these thorns are there, very pointed and pricky. So if anyone want to eat the leaves of this plant, these thorns are there that will get pricked, and because of that no any animals goes to eat the leaves of the acacia, and automatically they get protected from the herbivorous animal. Now another example is given of the bougainvillea. Bougainvillea is also having the thorns like this. These are the picture of a bougainvillea. Small thorns are there. So those who are eating the leaf, so at the base of leaf only thorn is there, so it will get pricked, so they will not eat that, right. Then some of the plants are there, they are producing the chemicals, right. So as they produce the harmful chemicals, so automatically this plant will get protected from the herbivorous plants. So this chemical will be act as a defense for the plant. Example is given of calotropis. Calotropis produce a highly poisonous glycoside, right. Very poisonous glycoside is there, and because of this glycoside, cardiac this glycoside is a cardiac poison, So cardiac arrest will be there, heart attack will be there because of this poison, right? This is the image of the Calotropis. This must be you have seen near the Bajrang Bali's temple. You can see this because the flowers of this plant and leaves are there that we offer to the god, right? Why these flowers only offer to the god or leaves? Because these plants will never be touched by the animals, right? They are not eaten by any animal, right? So this we can consider as a little bit pure, as they have not eaten or not touched by the animals due to the presence of glycoside chemical. Cardiac arrest, if any animal eat this plant, then due to the cardiac arrest that animal can die. So no animal will eat this plant, right? So the name of this is a Calotropis, right? Along with this, these are the flowers of the Calotropis, right? Must be you have seen. Along with the Calotropis, there are nicotine, caffeine, quinine, strychnine, opium. These are some of the plants which produce kind of chemicals which are used as a defense against the animals, and they protect the plants from the animals. So here a few more interactions are there that we will see in our next video. So today we will stop here. So today we have seen about the population growth, in that different factors which are affecting for the population, then how this population density goes on changing, right? Then population growth models we have seen, two: logistic growth model and exponential growth model. In that logistic growth model is the realistic growth model, right? So based on this population growth factors are there. Based on this 5 marks question or 3 mark question will be asked. So the diagram and the equation and along with the factors you have to prepare. Second one, growth model is there, that also it will be asked 3 or 5 marks, right? So in that graph and explanation will be asked, or sometimes it will be asked among the logistic growth and exponential growth, which one is the realistic growth curve and why, that also you can explain. So both these graphs either for 3 marks one graph, or both it will be asked as like in comparison for 5 marks. So prepare these both growth models. Then after that some of the variations also we have seen because of this population is increasing. Next one we have seen the population interaction, various types of the population interaction. So in that today we have seen about the predation, right? So in the predation various examples are given in your textbook, right? So go through these all examples, and among that any example will be asked in the exam, and it will be asked which type of interaction is seen in this example, or this example explain which type of interaction. So you are able to explain that, or sometimes they will ask what is a predation and explain with 2 examples, right? So you have to prepare in both way. So in the predation we have seen what is the predation, then in that different examples of the predation. So prepare all these examples of the predation. If any doubt is there, write in comments. If no doubt is there, then like the video so I can understand that you have seen the video and you don't have any doubt, or just write no any doubt, right? Complete your notes of this point if you don't have any doubt, right? And prepare well. All the best.